Hey everybody, Dave Bazanko here for HeartFit TV. You know those super annoying people you see out there all the time, they're runners. You see the same faces every day, they're running around your neighborhood on your way to work, and you say to yourself, running, that's something that I might be able to do. But before you start running, something you might want to consider is picking up a new pair of running shoes. And today what we're going to be doing is visiting Mizuno Canada's head office up in Mississauga. And we're going to be talking to product specialists Michelle and Larry about what you want to ask, what you want to look for when you're buying a new pair of running shoes. To me, this is the biggest investment that you're going to make if you're going to start walking and running, and you don't want to experience any additional pain because of your footwear. So we're going to talk a little bit about why you should be looking at certain types of shoes, what questions to ask, what kind of retailers to buy your products from. But beyond buying a heart rate monitor to pay attention to your ticker, this is the biggest investment, and it's the only investment you really need to make if you're going to be a runner. So come on with me up to Mississauga. We're going to head up and visit Larry and Michelle and see what they have to say about running at Mizuno. So we're here with HeartFit 365 TV. Today we're at Mizuno headquarters in Mississauga, Ontario. We're here with Larry and Michelle from Mizuno, and today Larry and Michelle are going to help to tell us a little bit more about why Mizuno might be the right fit for you if you're just getting into running or walking. And when we have a look at the wall back here, first thing we're going to ask ourselves is, when you go into a store and you see a wall or a rack full of shoes, what might be the first things that somebody might be looking for as a sign that they're in a good place to be buying a good pair of running shoes?
Yeah, I mean, you walk in and you're going to see just an explosion of color, and that's often where runners go and pick up the shoe off the wall. They're drawn in by color. But I think the key to being in the right location is having somebody at that store ask you a lot of questions. If they're asking, how often are you exercising? If they're looking at your recent pair of shoes for wear patterns, if they're not going here but asking you what you're doing and looking at your foot, you're in the right location, and they know you're looking at the right pieces of the puzzle to get you in the right pair of shoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we talked about there's a real price range. I mean, there are lots of options out there for people to go to as far as discount big box stores, through to specialty running specialty retail stores. Quite often, if you're not a runner, you're going to go to wherever's got the best price. And that sort of is the way that the adults tend to shop. You kind of go, well, it's just a pair of running shoes. I know I can get those for 50 bucks somewhere, so I think I'll go down to the discount store and get them there. But that could be a mistake. And I learned that mistake the hard way, even as a runner, about, say, 3 years ago. The shoes that I was wearing, the brand that I was wearing, I ended up needing a new pair of shoes. I went to a retail outlet. It was a discount box retail outlet. And when I went into that store, I bought from a teenager what they said was the best running shoe for runners for their brand. It looked like a really cool shoe. The color drew me in. It was like a tennis ball yellow. It was like, okay, everybody's going to see me. The cars will see me wearing these. I won't be mistaken. I'll be a runner. And as soon as I wore those, I wore them once, and I lost almost every toenail off my feet. So I was definitely in the wrong pair of shoes. The next day I went and bought a pair of Mizuno's again, because Mizuno has a wide toe box, which works for me. And the shoe itself just was like walking on a cloud. It was an awesome shoe, and I've never gone back from Mizuno since. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the level of knowledge that those retailers have. Sometimes you've got somebody who's really well informed, and they're just going to steer you towards the product that's best for you. And then other times you've got people who are sort of discount oriented, and they're just going to try and push whatever is on sale on you. So as a consumer, you've got to sort of be aware of the sales pitch that's going on. But at the end of the day, you want something that's going to make you feel comfortable. Because if you're starting to run again, or you're starting to run for the first time, or walking, at the end of the day, this is your biggest investment, right?
Absolutely.
Beyond the shoes, it might be a heart rate monitor after that, but this is your biggest investment. So tell me why I might want to go out and spend $130, $160 on a pair of running shoes. What's the benefit going to be for me in the long term? Why is this a good investment for me?
Yeah, I think you touched on a few things, but my foot shape, your foot shape, and Michelle's foot shape are all very different. And it just so happens that Mizuno works for us, and the shape that these shoes are built on complements the shape of our foot. When you go into a run specialty shop, the selection they have not only is by brand, but it's by shape, and you really want to hone in that fit so you have something that's supporting you well, but also something that is very comfortable on your foot. Your shoe should really disappear There should really never be a break-in period for a pair of shoes. I'm not a huge advocate for that. It has to be out of the box, fitting well, and if not, you need to try something else on. So going into a retail location that offers that wide selection, really price shouldn't come into the equation. It should be all about fit, feel, comfort, support, and that's really, I think, the important part of being fit in a proper pair of shoes.
My other point about what you just said is when you go into these sale situations and you're going for the sale, a couple weeks ago someone had come in to me and they said, oh, I just always buy shoes on sale, and he tried out a pair of our shoes and he was just like, I've never tried a pair of really good, you know, full price shoes before, and he loved them. But when I actually looked at the shoes he was wearing, like, he told me, you know, what he paid for them and everything, and the price, it doesn't matter. But the problem is that most times these sales are on what we call yester tag. So it's technology that we've already updated this technology maybe 2-3 times, and these people have bought into something that's just a little bit older, heavier, and why to me it just makes more sense to take advantage of the technology. We put so much time and energy and engineering into any shoe. Any brand does that. So the sales, I find you just kind of miss out. You're kind of just behind the ball a little bit.
And a lot of times when you go into a store, you've got sort of like neutral shoes, and you've got comfort-oriented shoes, you've got minimalist shoes. You know, what are the differences between those? When I come in as a consumer and I go, well, you know, I saw a guy wearing shoes that look like his feet, and now I'm seeing a shoe that's got no heel, no support. And now I'm seeing a shoe that's got lots of comfort and cushioning. You know, what should I be looking for if I'm a walker, and that's how I'm going to start maybe doing a little bit of running? Does it really matter what shoe I buy, or should I actually be looking for something that's designed for a walker who's going to do a light bit of running?
I don't know, are you?
Jump in.
Okay, well, for me, we were just kind of talking about this, and my approach to this is lifestyle, and it's not just what you're going to do when you're running. My approach is what you're doing all day long. And so what we talked about, if you are somebody who walks around in your 3-inch heels all day long, and you're a woman, and you know, you're up on your feet a lot, when you come home and you take off those 3-inch heels and then you go into, say, a 0-drop shoe or a 4-mil drop shoe.
What does that mean? Zero drop?
The heel to toe drop, like the ramp on the shoe. Okay. So they take the measurement from the heel, the measurement from the toe, and they subtract it, and you get your drop. So, right. And so there's this whole conversation about drop. So if that's your lifestyle, and then you come home, you take off your shoes, and you go into a 0-drop shoe or whichever, chances are you're probably going to have some problems with your feet. It doesn't really matter. At that point, if you're walking or running, I think you'll end up with some problems. And vice versa, if you're somebody like men often wear flats, and they spend all their days in flat shoes, and then they go all the way into a 12-mil drop shoe, which is a higher ramp, more cushion, and they are always complaining that they're having calf problems. So I think either way, it's going to affect you. So think about what you're doing all day long, and then sort of go into something. And then it also matters how long you're running or exercising, like how many hours a week, how long each day is, whether you need cushions. Some people actually are more sensitive. Their toes are more sensitive. Their balls of their feet are more sensitive. They need more forefoot cushioning, or their heel strikers, they need more heel cushioning. So, like I said, it comes down to the person on the floor asking those questions.
So I think one of the good points you've made is that when you're actually getting new into running, I know one of the experiences that I still have vividly in my head from 10 years ago when I started was the pain that you experience in your calves when you start running again. And definitely, if you're in the right pair of footwear, you make that right investment, you're not going to experience as much pain in your body because you're connected to the right piece of equipment on the bottom end. So I think that's really important. And another thing that I experienced was, as a triathlete, I had bought a pair of racing flats, which had drainage, but they were very much a minimalist shoe. And I had trained in my Mizunos for the race, and then I went out on race day and wore those shoes at the end of an Ironman. And because I felt that if I wore my Mizunos, you know, that the water that was coming off me when I was pouring water out through the race was going to sit in my shoes. But the drainage in the other shoes seemed to make sense. All the other athletes said you have to have minimalist drainage shoes to race on race day, and I couldn't walk for 3 days. When I was done that race, I had pushed myself so hard I couldn't walk. And now I had obviously did an Ironman, I tore myself down, but I didn't have that same experience when I wore my Mizunos in my first Ironman, where it was all about comfort and survival.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are different types of shoes for different types of events that you're doing, and I just think it's really important to pay attention to the cushioning and what you are wearing all day long, because when you go out to do that run, you know, you don't want to have that extra discomfort, especially in the beginning, because that might discourage you from continuing on.
I often say too, like shoes are tools, and what you're doing every day, you want to use the right tool, right? So with anything you do in life, it's a tool. So you know, build a toolbox. So I have a specific shoe that I use for speed workout, and a specific shoe I use for my long run, and those shoes complement each other, but they're for that specific job.
So that's a very good point. If you are an experienced runner and you are doing very sport-specific training, you might want to dig into, you know, looking at a wall like this and asking more detailed questions about, you know, why is this shoe going to be better for sprinting? Why is this shoe going to be better for a marathon? You know, those are good questions to ask. But again, I think most of the people that we're talking to are just getting involved in sport, and they need to justify, why am I going to spend that kind of money? So for me, again, I always go back and I tell people, it's my toes. I mean, this is the biggest investment that I'm going to make. I don't want to have black toenails, and that's really uncomfortable on top of the sore calves that you might have when you get started. So
another problem we see a lot, and I know Larry probably see it, is the bunions. With poor fitting shoes, you can end up with really bad bunions. I see bunions every single day, and bad shoes will give you bunions. So it's for the investment of, just like you said, our feet. We have to live with them every day, and so yeah, you should find the right proper shoes.
it's funny that you say that, because I see a lot of people who come out of factory environments who wear the steel toe shoes. They develop sort of odd curvatures in their foot, and the same thing with women who wear those high heel shoes. They end up having really odd things happening with their feet. And to go in from that situation into a running shoe, I never really thought of it from that perspective for the women.
Have you ever seen a ballerina?
I have. My daughter's actually a ballerina. It's when they get on the point shoes, it gets really ugly. And you know, it's comfort is huge, and it's not all about looks all the time. It's about having comfortable feet, because at the end of the day, we want to keep active. At the end of the day, this is a sport for life, and we want to trust the brands that we're working with. And I can tell you, I was telling Larry earlier, I've been a Mizuno user for about 32 years now. Started out with baseball equipment and you know, transitioned into running. But you know, I love the product. It just works fabulous, and you know, I highly recommend it. But you've got, as a consumer, make your own choices. But I think companies who take the time to spend educating their consumer about the product and why it works, and what the real benefits are going to be for you in the long run, I think that's the best way to approach buying your first pair or your first serious pair of running shoes.
Yeah. I think language is important too. If you go into a store, that person shouldn't want to sell you shoes. They should want to fit you in shoes. And that's a really big difference. And I think if you can go in and get fit properly, it's an investment worth making. You mentioned people getting into the, you know, sport, whether it's walking or jogging or running. You know, maybe not for the first time, but you know, coming back to it after maybe a prolonged period. You probably deal with a lot of parents who put their sport aside and watch their, you know, cart their kids around to hockey, soccer, you know, ballet, whatever. You're one of them.
Yep, done that.
To come back, to make the investment, to get properly fitted, it really is, in terms of a sport, not a huge investment. You don't have to sink a lot of money to get started into a running, walking, or jogging program, but this is definitely a really good place to start, having a well-fit and a very comfortable pair of shoes that supports you properly. And again, you owe it to yourself to go seek out an opportunity to get fit properly. So I can't stress that enough. Yeah, make sure to just get fit, don't get sold.
Yeah, I can honestly say that in St. Catharines, where I live, the relationship that I have with the store that I buy my product from, you know, your product is available in all the stores in the city, but I've got a relationship with one vendor who I've been using for the last, one retailer that I've been using probably for the last 10 years. And we just have an ongoing relationship now, where it should be a relationship. If you're buying your equipment from a retailer, they get to know you. Your information's in their database. If they're that sort of up to speed with times, and they're keeping that sort of information, they know what fits your foot. You know, they're going to let you know when they've got an opportunity for you. Maybe a new product comes out, and maybe they're running a running clinic, and they're helping you become involved more in the sport. I think that's really important from a retail standpoint, is you've built a relationship with somebody who's going to help you continue on with the sport. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say is
Absolutely.
It's not unheard of to have a relationship with your running shoe guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have a relationship with your doctor?
Yeah, you do.
So
You do, absolutely.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you might want to share with any of those new runners out there at all, or?
I'd like to add one thing. We talked about being fit and making sure that you have the right shoe for your foot, but actually having an opportunity to test it. So if you go into a store and you get fit in a pair of shoes and you do the old kind of standing bounce test,
Yeah.
when do you do this? When you're walking, running, or jogging? It's not an indicative movement for what you actually do. And the person that is fitting you can't get a lot of information in terms of how this is supporting your foot. So I think when you're in a fitting situation, get moving in the shoe. Get that expert to look at your foot and how it's being supported in the shoe when you're walking, when you're jogging, when you're running. There's opportunities to get video of yourself in different products on a treadmill and really see how it's supporting. I mean, that's next level in terms of how it's moving. But yeah, there's also a lot of cool demo opportunities. So if you do have a local retailer that, we as brands come in and we invest in shoes for people to go try, and that's a huge part of our business is getting people moving in our product, because it's the only way to really tell if it's a really good fit. You got to go from here to moving for sure.
So the one tip I would offer to you, if you're going to go buy new running shoes, take your old running shoes into the store, because even these shoes here, these Mizunos are only 3 months old. I was telling Larry earlier, you can see the wear pattern on the back of my shoe that I'm a heel striker. So this is information for the retailer to help fit you into a better pair of shoes.
Yep.
So it's just a roadmap. It's just one more piece of the information, one more piece of the puzzle that's going to help them get you fit into the proper pair of shoes. So guys, thank you very much for being a part of the program
Thank you
today.
very much.
For sure.
For more information and to leave comments below, just go onto the website on the youtube.com, on the Hartford 365 website, and you'll find all of our information down there. Leave a comment behind at the end, and tell us what you think, guys. Thanks for watching.